to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping Monday morning, while a parallel delegation headed by National Intelligence Service Director Jung Un flew to Tokyo to brief Japanese Prime Minister Abe on the attempts to open talks with Pyongyang on its nuclear and missile program.
Our President Moon Jae-in and the South Korean government believe that various advances toward achieving the goal of peace and denuclearization of the Korean peninsula have been made possible with active support and contribution from President Xi Jinping and the Chinese government.
Yang said China insists on all parties sticking to solving the issue through dialogue and consultation.
As long as all parties insist on solving the issue politically and maintain this direction, we can undoubtedly lead the situation on the Korean peninsula to move forward in the direction in which the global community hopes for.
Chung is also scheduled to visit Russia on Tuesday, where he'll likely sit down with Russian President Vladimir Putin to brief him on the outcome of the North Korea trip and the progress of the subsequent talks. The South Korean president says that the fate of this country and the Korean peninsula hangs on how things are handled in the next 2 months, this opportunity that has landed in the world's hands like a miracle. And amid lingering uncertainty and anxiety running through the minds of all those involved in this process, experts warn you can never be too careful in a delicate situation like this, and don't count your summits until they're hatched. 문건영, 아리랑 News, The Blue House.
Following the special envoy's visit to the U.S. last week, Seoul's top diplomat will be traveling to Washington on Thursday. The Foreign Ministry confirmed during the three-day trip, Kang Kyung-hwa will hold talks with our U.S. counterpart Rex Tillerson on the upcoming dialogue with North Korea. According to the ministry, the duo will also touch on economic and trade relations, including America's recent steel and aluminum tariffs set to take effect in 2 weeks. She is also set to meet with other senior officials during her stay. South Korean NUK envoy Lee Do-hun will arrive a day earlier to prepare for the meetings. President Trump declared over the weekend it's time for talks with North Korea. While his administration backed those words, they've also been quick to emphasize no concessions will be made. Kwon Jang-ho has the details.
U.S. President Donald Trump showed at a rally on Saturday that he was fired up for talks with North Korea, saying that he trusts Pyongyang to keep its word on halting nuclear missile testing for now.
I think they want to do something. I think they want to make peace. I think it's time. And I think we've shown great strength. I think that's also important. Right?
He also took to Twitter to express these views, saying he believes North Korea will honor their commitment. On Sunday, Trump's senior officials were out in full force on the Sunday news shows to support the president's stance, while emphasizing that the U.S. will not back down from its hardline position before the talks.
The sanctions are staying on. The defense posture is staying the same as it is. So the president is going to sit down and see if he can cut a deal.
He can't conduct nuclear testing. He's got to stop the missile testing that he's been hard at for the last years. He's got to continue to allow us to perform our militarily necessary exercises on the peninsula. And then he's got to make sure that he leaves on the table that discussion for denuclearization.
However, some criticism has been voiced from members of Congress, even among Trump's Republican allies, that the deal for the talks had been reached too impulsively, and that a lot of work has to be done before they meet.
But I don't think anybody really believes that North Korea is prepared to denuclearize. If somebody is saying, I've heard it suggested, that that's what the North Koreans have already agreed to, I would question that.
Meanwhile, National Security Advisor H.R. Master is slated to brief the United Nations Security Council on Washington's talks with the South Korean envoys on Monday, as well as meet with the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. Trump's resolve for talks seems firm, but it remains to be seen whether Kim Jong-un will act as promised and what sort of progress will be made when the two leaders meet in May. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
Back here in Indonesia, there have been calls for a constitutional amendment to better reflect the social and economic changes since it was last revised some 3 decades ago. And last we have some visible step towards making the long overdue updates. Kim Hye-sung gets us up to speed with the developments.
The Special Advisory Council on the Constitution under the Presidential Commission for Policy Planning has completed its final draft of a proposed amendment bill Monday. At the core of the amendment is South Korea's government structure, the introduction of a 4-year, 2-term presidency. Currently, South Korean presidents serve a single 5-year term, and there have been debates that this limitation hurts chances of long-term policy continuity and leaves presidents as lame ducks before their terms run out. Another revision is on the nation's capital, which is not stipulated in the current constitution. The council said it is looking to add the capital by legislating it through law instead of directly stipulating it in the constitution. Some other issues include decentralization of power, boosting regional autonomy so that municipalities can co-prosper with the capital area, as well as boosting people's basic rights such as rights to safety, healthcare, and information. The committee will report its finalized proposal to President Moon Jae-in on Tuesday. The president had called on the National Assembly to speed up efforts to craft its own revision plan in time for a referendum to be held in tandem with the local elections in June. But rival parties have failed to make much progress as they have been divided over the timing to hold the referendum as well as how to change the nation's governing structure. The Blue House said Monday that the government's proposal can be scrapped even after it has been submitted if the National Assembly comes up with its own proposal. 김혜성, 아리랑 뉴스.
Today's opening ceremony, we are now on day 3 of the games, and the excitement is building as Team Korea is grabbing more wins on top of the country's first medal over the weekend, with Shin Hee-yeon grabbing the bronze medal in one of the cross-country skiing events. Team Korea's winning streak continues in the wheelchair curling as the 5-man mixed team locked in another victory against Canada earlier this morning. The two sides battled back and forth, but with Canada failing to earn points after the 8th end, Team Korea won the game 7-5. The victory comes after Team Korea defeated the USA, Slovakia, and the neutral Paralympic athletes from Russia over the weekend. This leaves Korea in second place in the 12 round-robin group, just behind China, who has played one more game than Team Korea. Over at Pyeongchang's Jeongsan Alpine Center, 4 Korean snowboarders competed in snowboard cross on Monday. Of Korea's lower limb impaired riders, only Kim Yoon-ho managed to get through the qualification round, but he failed to move on to the next round. For those with upper limb impairments, Korea's Park Soo-hyuk finished 21st out of 22, and Park Kang-seung was disqualified for missing a gate. Let's now look at some of the standout events for the rest of Monday and for Tuesday. Team Korea's wheelchair curlers will have their 5th round-robin preliminary round match against Germany in about an hour and a half. Team Korea could go level with China at the top of the group if it manages to defeat Germany. And on Tuesday morning, Shin Hee-yeon will continue his hunt for medals at the men's sitting 12.5-kilometer biathlon race. The host nation's para-ice hockey players will also see if they can continue their winning ways on Tuesday afternoon in their 3rd preliminary round match against the U.S. It's likely the country will secure its qualification for the Paralympic semifinals for the first time in history. That's it from me for now, but I'll be back with more updates on the Paralympic Games in our next newscast. With that, let's look at the medal table for today.
Thank you for the sporting updates, Ji-won. Moving on to a different story now. In a meeting with his top aides, President Moon expressed hopes the Pyeongchang Winter Paralympics will boost positive awareness of people with disabilities, similar to how social perceptions were changed by the 1988 Summer Paralympics in Seoul.
구현하려는 패럴림픽까지 성공시켜야 올림픽의 진정한 성공을 말할 수 있을 것입니다.
The Liberal leader called for the public to show support for the Paralympics, just as they did for the Winter Games back in February. Moon noted the lack of coverage of the current global sporting event by the Korean media and urged them to allocate more airtime for the Paralympics so that more people can catch the exciting competitions.